Hey guys, this is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy. Now, we've covered a bunch of ground in this series already. Check the playlist if you haven't seen all of them. And if you haven't taken time to yet, please subscribe and click to like if you're enjoying this as we go on. Now, this section is actually on, arguably the most important topic of all the ones I'll look at, and that's image quality and sharpness. If you're going to spend $1,000 to $2,000 on a lens, you want to make sure that it's going to give you some nice, clean and sharp images, right? So throughout this one, I'm actually going to go through and show you full images and then 100% crops from each of the lenses that I've done in the videos throughout the whole series, which were all real world tests, out of the lab, in the field, taking shots of people and objects as you potentially would use them in your real career or play. Now, as well as that, I'll be doing a couple of test shots on this tree. It's got lovely good texture in there. And a lot of the tests I've done so far are at f2.8 and f4. So here I'm actually going to test it at 5.6 and 8 on each of the lenses, which should be around the optimal sharpness. Now, something you really need to keep in mind, of course, before people start flaming me, the image quality and arguably even the sharpness that's apparent in an image has a lot to do with the camera. So here I'm using the 5D Mark II from Canon and the D700 from Nikon, both fantastic cameras, but very different cameras. Of course, the 5D Mark II is much higher resolution, so the 100% crops aren't going to match up with each other. But again, it's horses for courses, so compare the Tamron to the Canon because they were all taken on the same body, and compare the Sigma to the Nikon, they were both taken on the same body as well. So now I'm going to take some test shots of this one at 50mm and 70mm at 5.6 and f8 on each lens. I'll show you those ones first, then we'll jump into a selection of other ones.
Alright, settle in guys, we've got a bunch of full images here including crops and side by side. So there's the Canon at 5.6 and there's 100% crop on that. There it is at f8 and 100% crop. Now I'm flying through these, so if you need to then pause. There's the Tamron 5.6 and full crop, looking great. The f8 looking really crisp and contrasty, and up close the quality is good. And here's the Nikon at 5.6. Now this is not directly comparable of course because it's on a different body now, but there it is, the full crop. There it is at f8 and the full crop. The Sigma, now looking good, not quite as sharp. Just let you know, these are all taken in really contrasty time of day. There it is at f8. So that's why you've got such harsh lighting. You can see the shadows. Now let's see those center crops at 100%, one after the other. Okay, and now let's throw them all up on the one grid. This is the very central strip from each of the images. Now, of course, the ones that were shot on the Canon and the Sigma are bigger because it has more resolution to play with, and you can see more fine detail due to that resolution. Now, these are the top left-hand corner crops, which is quite a different test, and I'm really surprised to see there the Tamron is actually sharper than the Canon, that's for sure, and the Sigma's also looking pretty great in the corners. Really good result. Now let's take a look at some of the earlier shots. There's the Canon at 2.8 and the full crop center. The Tamron at 2.8 and the center full crop. Next up is the Nikon, and again full crop. And when you see these one after the other, it's really interesting to see, there's the Sigma, how they render the bokeh differently at the full crop. So let's look at them one by one. So the Canon's just all creamy. The Tamron, can you see the little concentric circles there? The Nikon is quite creamy as well, and the Sigma has a little bit of ring action on the inside. Now again, at 2.8, there's the Canon, and crisp, that's a center crop. Tamron, that's also fantastically sharp for f2.8, I'm really impressed. The Nikon, again very good, but not as close up to see the fine detail because it's a much lower resolution. And there we go, the Sigma, again looking reasonably good, but you need to see them one after the other. So here we are, Canon, Tamron, next up the Nikon, Sigma. Okay, and again let's just run through them one more time. So all of these are performing really well, and I think it's fair to say different ones do perform differently at the different apertures. I'm going to throw up a little side-by-side in a second here that shows you all of them. There we go. Now, obviously the Canon and Tamron are the ones that are directly comparable to each other, and I have to say, looking at the words Nikkor around the lens, I think the Tamron is sharper at 2.8 than the Canon, but when you stop it down, the Canon is sharper. And likewise, the Nikon is a bit soft at 2.8, I have to admit it. At f5.6 and f8, it's great and clearly ahead of the Sigma, but at f2.8, I would say the Canon's ahead of Nikon, but maybe even, amazingly, the Tamron's ahead of the Canon. Anyway, look through the images again and let me know what you think. Let me know which ones you think perform the best, were there any surprises there for you? And there you go. I hope you've found that useful. If you are planning to buy one of these, I'd love it if you clicked one of my links below that would support me. And stay tuned, the overall conclusion is coming very soon. Thanks guys, this is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy.